Hey, everybody. So I'm here today with ChriStar, and she is someone who works with light language and does activations. She does see one-on-one sessions, and I'll add her website into the bottom of this video. But she reached out to me when she was hearing me talk about the Lion Kingdom, and she had some really neat information. So thank you, ChriStar, for reaching out to me because I always
You.
love the connections.
Thank you. Excellent. Excellent.
So
Yeah,
talk to me. Like, what is it that you were understanding and bringing in?
sure, sure. So I had been working with a group of 12 people that we are going to Baja in November, and we went last April or the April before last. And we work together quite often and kind of a tribe, I guess. But for that session, I created a light code. And the light code that came in, at first, I didn't realize it. I did know there was Lyran energies, but there was something more to it. And I mentioned it on the group call that we did, and we worked with the energy of it, but it didn't seem to really resonate so much with others in terms of that specific subject.
Yeah.
But it is about the 12 tribes. And what was coming through for me was the 12 tribes were the Lion Kingdom.
Mm.
That's what was coming through for me. So, you know how it's in the Bible about the 12 tribes?
Yep.
This is what I was getting in the symbology and the light code, which you'll see because I'll go through the codes here because I do believe we're doing an activation today. Um, and so I kind of worked with it afterwards. And then I saw another posting before yours, Jenny, and it was probably maybe a week after, and it was Judith Cussel. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Yeah, from
Yep.
Africa. Yeah, so her posting was about um, what was had happened, this civilization, which was a Lion Kingdom civilization, which I never heard of, but in my mind, in my heart, I've always known there's more than the Mu, Lemuria, and Atlantis.
Yeah.
And she had mentioned about this kingdom, and I don't know that she gave a date that it was before all those. I don't think she did, because when you mentioned it, I said, aha, that makes sense. But what she said in her post was that it was a king, it was beings that came here to create, I don't know, heaven on earth, or to really bring a lot of codes and templates for us and for this evolution process. I'm sure they were in tune with everything that was going to happen. But during that time, there were twin brothers that actually led these tribes, and there was conflict. So wars started, and then the Lion King ended during this wartime. And so she made those statements. I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And also, I'm doing some work with another gal that we work together weekly on wounded warriors.
Uh-huh.
So the whole thing around war and the impact that war has had on humanity over, through time and space, it's been so traumatic and dramatic, and we're holding so much of that energy. Not only us as the humans, but the land is holding it. So we don't know what we're going to do from week to week. We just go in, and she actually gets a message from her guides in terms of what it will be on. But it could be something as simple as passing some people over through a portal that their energies have stayed here and it's time for them to go.
Yeah.
Um, to doing all kinds of energy, because she's an emotional code healer. So we do a lot of emotional code healing around whatever the situation is. And it's not just the warriors, the wounded warriors, it's their families, it's everybody affected by them. And so it's really big.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fascinating. And we say things like, well, the land's affected, and sometimes people don't always understand, but if you see the land, the earth as a being that we happen to be residing on and working with, but it's
yeah,
no different than us. War affects every little thing.
yeah.
War definitely affects that feminine, right? We've
Oh
seen
yeah.
just the whole entire rape and pillage. And it's not like it's then, it still happens now. I mean,
Right,
when you
right.
look at like the Serbia, Bosnia stuff that happened in the 90s,
Yeah,
and there was an entire grouping of women that were raped and then impregnated and had, the blended children, and had to figure out, well, how do I manage this? And that's why the orphanages were overflowing, because these women were going to be disowned from their families as if it was their fault, right?
yeah,
Like, we still see it. We still see the consistent damage of it.
yeah. And even think about now, what's going on now, and that's the fear that's being projected. And I think that's why it's called an immediate work on this. And I'm sure we're not the only ones working on it. I'm sure there's a ton of people working on it, but
Yeah,
to do the clearings around it, because people will fall into that, the way that it's projected, people will fall into it. So as much as we can clear around it to try to dissipate that, the better.
absolutely. And the dissipation of the sides, right? It's like, no, no, no,
Right, right.
go into that middle, because both sides, there's good and bad, both sides,
Yeah,
no matter how you look at it. So it's like, stick in the middle and just do the clearing and the
yeah,
healing and what needs to be done. But
yeah,
you were talking about, in the beginning, you were talking about how it the Lion Kingdom, they had done a lot of codes, a lot of activations. They had done a ton of like putting information into the grids. They had put temples up on these sites. But one of the things that I've been receiving recently was like, this experiment of Earth.
yeah,
That was that very beginning, with the understanding that the experiment was going to go on, right? And so it's
yeah.
almost as if things were put in place because we knew there was going to be that
Right.
downslide into greater separation, into greater darkness. And now we're on that upslide. Oh, I just got goosebumps head though. Um, and so now we can access that level again, like
Yeah,
almost as if, it's like things were put in place, like a time capsule almost, right?
yeah,
Like, put in place of like, we know that you all are going to go down. There's going to be the ego and the wars and the separation, and all of these things are going to happen. The further that you separate from self and from source, this is bound to happen. It's part of that experiment, right?
yeah, yeah,
But when you come up, this is here for you.
yeah,
It's here for you
yeah,
to access and to shift. And
yeah,
once we can access that and anchor that in, things start to really move.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel like that's where we're at.
I do too. And the interesting thing is that it's this kingdom that's not, I don't think many people talk about it. Maybe there are some other people. I've heard some things recently about it. So it's coming up for a reason. And because it was that landing point to where, okay, let's get all these codes in place because they're gonna, we're gonna come back and we're going to activate these codes.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what it feels like, and it's so exciting. And I think the codes today are a part of that process for those of us that are here to do that. I think it's going to help that activation. Yeah.
I think so too. And I think that there are those of us who placed the codes.
Yes.
That we were like, so now it's that full circle. It's like, yep, I
Yeah.
placed the codes, and these are
Yeah.
codes of my remembering.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then, and shoosh, the goosebumps that are coming
Yeah.
in. And then it's like, and now I'm going to go into this game of, I'm going to forget who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have all these lifetimes and all this experience and all
Right.
this separation. And then I'm going to remember,
Yeah.
because I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to pick up exactly what I left for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely what it feels like.
Yeah.
And we're literally activating each other in this process. I mean, yeah, it's so cool. So fascinating.
I mean, I definitely feel like Soul Tribe is coming more online,
Yeah,
very much so. And in some ways, I was saying to someone recently, I'm like, and there's a point in time during this process where you have to learn boundaries.
yeah,
You have to be very careful with your energy. You kind of wall up, and you're like, okay, I don't want to take in what's not mine, and we do all.
yeah,
But I almost feel we're at the point now to where it's almost safe to go, because we're starting to be surrounded by enough
yeah,
that you were like, okay, you know what? I've got this person in California. I've got this person in North Carolina. I've got this person in the UK. I can I can feel it around me and I know that it's safe. Like
Yeah.
there's a nervous system letting down.
Oh yeah. Boy, speaking of that nervous system, yeah, that has been so on high speed lately. My gosh.
So high speed
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah.
So high speed. And it's so, but it's very much like this quickening
Yeah.
and the letting down, like a
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and if you're someplace that you haven't quite hit that space yet, just know it's coming.
Oh yeah.
Coming,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah.
It's
It's
like, and you
coming.
may be at the space to where you're learning boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important to learn because you have to learn the boundaries, you have to exert them before you can know which ones you can get rid of.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean,
That's
that's
right.
the truth of it,
Exactly. Yeah.
because this is a very interesting place,
Yeah.
and
So
the
much.
the energy of it is through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so when ChriStar reached out to me and she was saying that she was working with the Lyrans, but it was like this other energy. What that feels like to me is Syrian.
Yeah.
It's very feline, very tall, whereas Lyrans tend to be a little, wider and bigger. This is
Yeah.
more angular and feline, and so I was like, oh, this has everything to do with what is going on in Avalon now.
Yeah.
And that's coming in this fall where it's like that layer can be picked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's fascinating.
Now, someone sent me a name, and I don't know if this resonates, and it could be something totally different, but I'm just going to mention it, which is a lion kingdom, and they're called Urma, maybe.
How do you spell it?
Urmah.
Hmm?
And it is some kind of lion kingdom, and I don't know if it was that one in particular, but ironically, just before we got on the call, I was on YouTube and it popped up on my YouTube where it was a song, and it was a beautiful song, and that ran for like 7 hours or something, and there were three white lions on it that were had like headdress, and so I'm like, oh, okay then. So I thought I'd put that out there. Whether it's them or not, it's probably Irma,
Send me the
maybe.
link.
Yeah.
When you say it, where it hits me is in the back of heart chakra.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I mean, that's a space that we hold some of that past life stuff.
Yeah.
It's within that chakra, and it's like, ooh, okay, I can feel that back there. And
Yeah.
it's not a bad feeling at all.
No.
It's
No.
actually a really nice feeling. To me, it feels solid.
Yeah.
Weird way
Yeah.
to say it, but um it's not overly airy. It's like right at the back of my heart chakra. I can feel it where it's coming in. It's like, nope, like almost like a foundation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. You'll have to send me that link.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm feeling now too, the light language that comes through, it's probably going to be them.
Mhm.
Yeah, that will bring the energy through with the codes and the light language. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It will be very interesting to see. Very much so. And um my team was talking to me recently about the Lionsgate coming up. And this is an 888 portal.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So,
Yeah. It's a
like
big one.
last year, it's a big one. Last year we had that 777. And that's not one I normally pay attention to, but last year they were like, you need to anchor into this one. You
Yeah.
need to like really hone into this. And for me it was huge.
Yeah.
And then now this year, and normally it's fascinating. Normally I travel at that time. It's like one of the times my daughter doesn't have basketball and it's right before school.
Yeah.
And so I've been different places working with different stargates. And this year they're like, you need to be home, to the point
Oh,
where I was scheduled to be in North Carolina. And it was like I woke up and it was like, nope, I rearranged the entire thing. And this was a vacation with all my daughters coming in, all the grandbabies coming in.
oh,
Flights were booked, cars were booked, the house was booked, and I dismantled it all.
wow.
and was like, I am so sorry, guys, but I don't know what this is, but we not need to not only change which beach we're going to be at. I was like, but we need to change the week, and we're doing the week before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what about Lionsgate? And they're like, you need to be home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, isn't that interesting? So I
Wow.
know
Oh, that is really interesting. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is. It is almost very much like I need to be home so I can anchor it.
Yeah.
And it may be that it just needs to be anchored in Colorado Springs.
Yeah. Yeah. Could
Right?
be.
I'm like, you need to be right where you are. As we were talking before we hit record, I am in between 5 military bases, NORAD, Space Command. Like
Yeah.
the energies here are very, very unique.
Yeah.
And so it just could be that I need to be right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
My kids
Amazing.
were like, Mom. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm blowing up
Wow.
the whole world, but we need to do this. And
Wow.
thankfully, everyone's like, okay. And we just rearranged everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. We'll see what that it's all about.
But
But
that's about. But I feel like the solstice is very big.
yeah.
And that has a lot to do with that sun and everything that it's bringing in. And then July feels to me to be prep,
Yeah.
and it is prep for Lionsgate. And the
Yeah.
more that we're able to clear ourselves and be okay, the more we're going to get out of the Lionsgate.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just my sense of it.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to Portland in July. I'm not sure. I have a friend there, and I don't know why, but it was going to be June, and now it's July. So, but I
Mhm.
do plan on being here for Lionsgate. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
it will
Yeah.
be interesting because,
Yeah.
especially with these energies of that Lion Kingdom, because you're right, more are starting to talk about it.
Yeah.
When they first started bringing it to me, and then I had somebody who was like, oh, check out Judith Kustel, check out this, and I started looking, and I'm kind of going, oh, okay, getting more of that scope of the understanding, because
Yeah.
it I knew nothing.
What that's how it was for me when I saw, I did the code, then I saw Judas, and then I saw yours, and you said, it was before Lemurian Atlantis. I thought, aha, that's right. That makes sense.
Huh. I mean,
It,
it
yeah,
really is that 0 point
yeah,
of, and like it feels very, the words that just came in were like pure unity consciousness.
yeah.
It's that truth of it,
Mm,
not the
mm,
distorted versions, not the way, I mean, because we have so much distortion taking place.
yeah, yeah. Which
Uh,
is, but that's very ironic because one of the codes I'm going to bring in is what I brought in for a group in the um, eclipse, and
mhm,
it was all around anchoring in the unity consciousness. It was
makes sense.
all around that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it was the lion influence. It was this template or these codes from this lion kingdom, I truly believe. And whether the 12 tribes or not, or another version of the 12 tribes or whatever, yeah, this will be interesting to see how this evolves and
I
what
think
comes.
I think it'll be a different version of the 12 tribes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But
The original version.
right,
The real version,
yeah,
however you want to look at that.
exactly. Exactly. How funny. Well, it makes sense to me that the Lyrans and the Syrians are very involved in this.
Yeah.
I spent like a week. I kind of thought I was going crazy. I kept in dreams and meditation. I kept seeing war with lion beings. I kept seeing frequencies that would be aimed at the center of a planet and the damage it was doing. It was killing the planet,
Wow.
and how it was distorting people's frequencies and fields and everything, and what it was doing them. Now, at the time that I was seeing all this, I hadn't been through my process yet, right? I hadn't understood, I didn't even know what a Lyran was.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that reference. And it was like every time I closed my eyes, I was back in it. And it was the most
Wow.
brutal experience, the grief. Oh my gosh. And like
Oh,
trying to like even say something to one of my older girls or my husband, and they're like, you're crying over this stuff. And this is like some sci-fi movie, right? Like they
yeah.
totally didn't get it. But what I understood from it, because it felt very much like a movie, and it lasted about a week. I mean,
Yeah.
it full on. was at the end of it, it was like that whole experience. Experiences like that, experiences like war can harden you,
Oh, yeah.
or they can make you extremely compassionate.
Yeah, that's right.
And many of the Lyrans went over to Sirius, they went to Orion, they went to different places, but they went with compassion.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
it was, how do we, not how do we get back, right? Not how do we, you know, it's how do we stop
Yeah, yeah.
the energies that create this type of destruction?
So interesting. So I was just having dinner with a friend the other day, and we were talking, and this is how everything happens. Probably happens with you too. Like you're talking to somebody, it's like, oh, wow, you know. So we were talking about astrology, which I know nothing about, and she mentioned Chiron,
Mm,
and because I had already told her about the wounded warrior work and what was happening with that, because it's so here and now. I mean, this is, we're doing that clearing for here and now, and she goes, oh, that's the same thing Chiron is. And she said, a wounded warrior, a wounded warrior. I said, really? And when I went and investigated, it's wounded healer.
mm,
So think of us. That's what we are,
yeah,
wounded healers.
absolutely.
So to me, this is really resonating. And because I do think the work next week will be around this as well, which is about these wars that this Lion Kingdom had. But Chiron, because I work in the group that I usually work with, we work with the star networks. So now I feel that Chiron is coming in to work with us, the wounded healer, which Chiron is a comet. I guess they call it a comet sort of planet now. When it first was discovered in 1977, they called it an asteroid. But it has this unique cycle that it goes through. I believe it's Uranus and Saturn, and it kind of it rotates in an interesting way. I don't understand anything about it
Yeah.
other than I read the myth about it, the Greek myth, which makes sense, that it is a wounded healer, and that's what we all are. So, and we've all been healing ourselves. So we're at this place now that the original or one of the original wounded healers is now going to start reactivating their codes. This feels really intense and in a good way.
Good way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so much of that original coming back online,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And as it comes back online, we're having to sift through the layers of the distortion, and that's where it's hard.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
because it shifts everything, and we're having to look at things differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And we're all being so open up, like I mentioned to my experience with the family constellation just last Saturday.
Yeah.
Before that, I had another session with another healer that we work with each other, and it was a release on the same lineage, which was on my mom's side. So it was, I had to do it just shows how all these things are orchestrated. I had to do an initial release of ancestral lineage on my mom's side, and then the family constellation work I did was on my mom's side as well. So the wounded healer, I mean, we're getting these major releases right now. So for everybody, if this is showing up, you're really feeling these impacts. And like I said, I died 3 days later. You know that we're at the precipice. I mean, it really feels like we're at the precipice of really bringing our guests forward and activating ourselves, as well as all the codes that are here to activate for the all. Yeah.
I mean, it really feels to me like this time period, and I keep wanting to go like into October, November, right? So it's like this whole entire series.
Yeah.
And I guess that would include even the next eclipse season, but it feels to me like all of this, there's instrumental things happening, and it's shift after shift after shift, and each one, it's, can we put aside the fears?
Yeah. Right.
And can we step into this new? And there's so much in our world that's trying to bring up all the fears to
Yeah.
keep us locked in the mental mind game
Yeah.
instead of in this heart space. And it's, I don't think I'm describing it well, but it is very much, can you suspend logic? Can you suspend the way things have always done and shift into the way you know they should be done?
Yeah. Yeah. And can you have the faith and the trust to allow for the process to take place? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge right now. Faith, trust, and allow.
And surrender.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And it's, like they had played with the word submission with me, I think it was about a year ago, and how like that word, like submission, you're like, "No, no, mm," you know. But there is very much that feeling of like you have to submit to your soul.
Yeah. Right.
You're
Right.
not
Right.
submitting to anyone else.
Right. Right.
You're
Right.
submitting right here.
Yeah.
And you're going, okay. And
Yeah.
connecting in with that pure line.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
And that's difficult because the mind doesn't want to do it. The ego certainly doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the outer world and everything that it shows you is like, have you lost your mind? What are you doing?
You are crazy.
You have lost your mind for sure. Like
Oh
nothing
my
you're
God.
doing makes sense. You know?
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally. Interesting. Okay,
Exactly.
I'm putting the pieces together in the light codes as you're talking. It's like, oh, okay, I see why that code came in. I see why. So,
Right.
yeah,
Like
it's
I always say, I'm like, this is like playing a game of like Blue's Clues.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, right,
Who is next? And where do
right,
I go? And what do I
right.
do?
Yeah, yeah,
And when I keep it lighthearted, it's fun.
yeah,
But if I get too in my head, this is not fun. And I
yeah.
went off.
Right, 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 right. Yeah,
Like I went off the merry-go-round. Thank you very much.
that's right. Cut me off. Stop. Yeah, for sure. I've definitely been there.
Yeah. I mean, and it is, I get it when people are like, I'm done. I'm like, I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
And the
that's not,
exhaustion. I mean, people are so. I mean, I have felt that so much. It's like, okay, I know I signed up for this, but okay, can it be done already? I mean, can we
like,
get
did I really read the fine print?
right?
Did I know what was going to happen and how things were going to shift? No.
No.
And so, it is an interesting thing, but then it's, for me, when I'm feeling that, it's because I'm in resistance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So then
Yeah.
if I can just like get out of my own way, then the
Yeah.
energy comes back in and the flow comes
Yeah.
back. It's
Because
just,
that's how we sabotage each other, right? I mean, or ourselves is that we
oh,
get
and
in
each
that.
other.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. True. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Call it like it is.
but that's the truth.
It is. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, and it seems it's very interesting because it's like if you're feeling something, the next thing you know, somebody's going to come and say and validate exactly what it is you're feeling.
Yeah.
And it's that confirmation bias that, yep, I have lost my mind, and
Yeah.
yep, I'm making bad decisions, and yep, it,
Yeah.
it is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I've noticed the number of practitioners that are no longer working. And I don't mean like I am technically right now on sabbatical. I don't mean that because I'm still doing other projects. I mean who are done.
Yeah.
They're like, I cannot anymore.
Yeah.
And they're going back into the 3D jobs and things like that. And that's been very interesting to watch. Have you noticed that?
I haven't I guess I'm not really connected as much to a lot of those people, which is interesting, but wow, that's a
Mm.
big one.
Because there's some days where I'm like, oh, you know, but I can't go backwards.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh, somebody asked me the other day, like, because as I mentioned, I haven't worked for 7 years, and okay, something needs to happen. And um, you know, the whole thing around going back to any kind of job like that, I said, no, I won't be doing any of that. I said, I know my work is with energy, and I'm waiting for that awareness to come through. And I know I'm getting there, but I couldn't even talk about it because it's just like, I just, there's no way I could go backwards, just no way, no way. Yeah, we're in for a real treat. I don't know what it is, but I'm just looking so forward to it and excited about it. So,
Yeah. No, I am
and
too.
be in trust and faith.
Yeah, and this just feels like a very intense time. Um,
Yes.
because well, to put it bluntly, I feel like we're being sorted, right?
Yeah.
Like we're being shook, and it's this like sorting type of game. And so it's like all the stuff's not that's not really us is um coming off because we're being
Yeah.
so shook, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then eventually we're going to be sorted. It's like, oh, my actual shape is a star. Oh, my actual shape is a circle. I'm thinking of like the child's little shaker toy. And it's like, but right now, none of us really know what our exact shape is.
No, no.
We still
Right.
have the distortion and the illusion and things, and that's why we're being shook, right? But eventually, it's like we're going to be exactly the shape we're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like you're going to fit into your gate and you're going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So the vision I got when you were saying that was panning for gold. So you know
Mhm.
how you shake all the sand or whatever out and only the gold is left.
Only to go exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And and this has a lot to do with that. I love the thought of the 12 tribes. And
Yeah.
I feel like those tribes, we're attracting our tribes.
Yeah. Yeah. We
And
definitely are.
but at the same time you attract your tribes, there's also the falling away.
Yeah. There is.
So it's not always the easiest
And a
process.
lot of that's happening. Yeah. A lot of people are expressing that. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Not easy.
Sure.
Not easy.
So are you want to start with some codes? You want to
Go for it.
get the process going here?
Do it.
Okay. Okay, so just a little bit about this. So I bring forth a light language. It's called the Universal Language of Light, spiritual technology. And and it is a light language and it's not meant to be understood. A lot of people bring through more information like they're translating it. This is not a translatable language in that way. It goes into the heart and it activates and it works with your soul essence. So it's all energy. Sometimes beings will come in. Sometimes I'm aware, I have an awareness of who comes in. Sometimes I don't. And sometimes I'll get little hints of what's happening, but not all the time or not a lot of the time, basically. It just is. And my biggest journey in this life is just to allow. And because I'm analytical, I'm in the head, and I always want to know, want. So this has been a huge test for me,
Mhm.
and my the way that I feel about it, even working with people, because they want to know. People want to know,
Yeah.
and it's not like that at all. Energy is not like that.
It's
We're working in a whole new way, and I think in this experience of it, you will feel or you will know that something is happening and it takes some time to integrate. But I do feel like these codes are around the Lion Kingdom, are around that trip that you're planning, Jenny, and are activating codes within us, and perhaps memory, DNA. This is the time that we orchestrated to have this gathering, and the people that will go, and the people that are a part of this lion tribe, will find their way to this video if they're so, yeah. So it'll be interesting.
No,
Interesting.
what's fascinating as you're talking. So it's already begun, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's already begun because my heart is just steady expanding. And it's heart, but it's also higher heart.
Yes.
And so it's interesting. It's like as soon as the platform, as soon as it was like, okay, let's do this. It was like boom, the energy started coming in.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that you experience that. And I agree with you. I think there's going to be those of you that those codes are going to come right in and you're going to feel it. There's going to be those that people are going to go, okay, my next step is Avalon. I've got to get there in September. So that's going to be fascinating, but it is, it's pretty cool.
I'm feeling it too. I definitely am. Yeah. So if you can share your screen, then I can.
How do I do that? If I share my screen, then it's going to be on my screen instead of.
There's a category where you just allow others under share screen. It should come up as a category that you can allow.
Did that work?
Let's see. Yes.
Yay!
You did. So I always put them in a PowerPoint because it's easier. Because otherwise, if I'm working with somebody, I pull them out of my library, and sometimes I'm thinking, okay, where did I put that? So I have to pull them out.
I love how you sat there and you said, I haven't worked in 7 years.
Yeah.
And that there's nothing further from the truth.
Right.
You just haven't worked in that 3D world.
That's right. That's right.
It's like, but you've been working and growing and creating.
Yes.
It's just not visible in that 3D tangible world.
That's right.
More important.
Yeah, I've heard my calling finally. You know, I've been kicking and screaming, and finally I heard it. Okay, here we go. First code. Okay, so this code is called Point of Origin Emotional Reconciliation. This has been a very powerful code lately. I also have a Instagram, and it's on there. So you think about that, and sometimes I try to get some tangibility. These codes, they're not really tangible. It's just kind of me in my mind thinking. But the point, you think about point of origin, the names that come in, point of origin is this is where we began. And not to say that that was the very first civilization, but it might have been one of the first major impactful civilizations.
Sure.
And the emotional codes that was a result of what the end was, which was war, which is what we're in now, in a sense. You know, not that we're physically, I mean, there are other places that are physically in war, and that's where they're trying to get us, but we know that's not where we're going. So resolving those emotional wounds and reconciling those wounds that we've created all of these wounds around war. So, okay, so just breathe into this code and invite it into your heart space. And as Jenny said, the higher heart, this is definitely higher heart consciousness here. And just allow, as I say that, I feel a palpitation in my heart.
Me too. And it's hitting the back of the heart chakra too.
Yeah. Okay. I'll bring through some language now, light language. Huamai na iata isho ai nai no oya ne hia no e shotai pa hu ne hia na ai ne o shiama koete ai ana hea ti no e ma o ne shonaya ne ma koete isho nema ko nia ma o ne ne o ne hia tu isho hoya na ia ma ko atia ani hoa ni a o ne hia shaya nya tia ma ko hia sh ia na ha tia o ya na haya ma ko. That did feel like the lime beans.
Mm-hmm. For me, I received a lot of imagery of water.
Oh, interesting.
Being by the water, working with the water.
Yeah. And as we talked about earlier, Jenny, actually, because these codes come to you in whatever you need. It's not like it's the same thing for everybody, just like we're so different. You were talking about how you live in the mountains, but you're like a water baby. So that the energy of water is what helps you heal.
It does.
So this is an emotional reconciliation. So it's bringing in the water. Yeah, it's very cool.
It is very cool. Very cool.
Okay, let's go to the next one. We've got a few here. So this is the code I was mentioning to you earlier, and it's the code that came through for the solar eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
So when I mentioned the 12 tribes, they are the spirals off to one side that were coming through. It's like it was a procession, like the solar eclipse created this procession, and that these 12 tribes were coming back through. It's like beginning again. And so the one off to below is that's like the source, a representation. The scepter on the right side, my right, I can't remember if I'm married or not, or you are, is a, now I gathered at the time I created this that it's a Lyran scepter. It may very well be an Ermi scepter, or it may be the combination of the two, because I think that they were in sync when this civilization was created.
Mm-hmm.
So when this was brought through, we all held the scepter in our hand. So when we go through this code, that may be something you think to yourself, is to grab this scepter, like reuniting who you are within this time and space, to get or receive an activation. Này, tụi mà khỏi, ê nè ha, ô mà hoa nè anh nè, nè mà khỏi nè ha thì na của mẹ của y shahena, ô nè na mai thì của tia tia tia, huy nè ha ta. Ô nè mà coi nè 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 na coi thì ôi xì mà hồi nè khu thì ôi nè mà coi nè ý ta ý mà coi na hai tia ý số nè hư ý nè hư ý hia na o ý shoo, shoo, shoo. Tia. Tia. Ane. Ue ane hoa. Ia shoto ai he ane ata. Tu. Isha a. No oma. Oma, oma, oma. I no hui ni he ti a na a. Na a, na a. Shoy ni hata. Ni hia. Ua. Tiao onehia shoana iata. Ameku.
So what's interesting is it felt like the scepter was through the center of the body and very much anchoring down through the root, down the Earth Star chakra, and actually going extremely deep,
Yeah.
down into what we could call like that core energy. Um, very much like an alignment.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Mm, that feels good. Yeah.
So, if as you all are experiencing this, as you're watching this, feel free to put in the comments what did you experience, because
Yeah.
it is very individual. It's very individual, and it's like, what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need to move you through this process from wherever you're at that moment? And what we need, just like the water, it's like, I need water.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously I needed some grounding. They're like, look, we're just going to put that through you like an error. Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what I need.
Yeah.
May not be what anyone else needs.
Right. Right. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Hmm.
This one is called The Magic is Back. A very powerful one, and that you can see as Merlin.
I know. I was like, I
Um,
think I'm Marilyn.
yeah. This came through when I was doing work in actual with the druids and remembering a past life with some other people that we were working together. And this came in very powerful. And it is called The Magic is Back. We are in this total realization that it is back. And all we have to do is allow and have faith and trust. Yeah, all those things.
Hmm.
Might this might be Merlin that comes through.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of Morgana too. So it's that very balanced Merlin, Morlina
Yeah,
type of
yeah.
energy is what's coming through for me.
Which makes perfect sense for
Mm.
balance, unity within ourselves.
Yeah, there's nothing in nature that isn't both.
That's right. Ai thôi mà khía thì ở sân bay bà khứa này anh này ở sân này ha mà khai nè thì nè khứa nè ai sân này mà khứa thay à thì mà khứa này thì ai nó khứa mà hu ai nè ôi ai na khứa nè 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 Hoi mà cúi tay sơ tay cửa na ha ti 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 ai no ya ta ya ta ya ta ya ta ya ta ya ta ui ni ti a sho ya na ma ku ne na ku na I ha sha ta ne ma ku ya ti o ne na hui I sha mà ha thì Tiana Tiana tai thì ôi khí ai 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 huê nè thì hơ hai nè thì sa nè thôi mà cố ta na 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 i i sai mà hay tai ôi nè hơ thì sa nè Naheana, Naheana ma huia tia nea tia huia tia nea tia na ne.
So for this one, I was thinking about close my eyes, which is what I had done with the previous two, and it was like, nope, Do not close your eyes. Literally stare into it, go into it. It hit me in the sacral. And my
Wow.
sacral still, it's like I can feel it's like a pulse almost like do, 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 do. And so
Wow.
it's really shifting right in that sacral. But that's a PowerPoint. It's sacral is a very
Oh,
huge,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
divine, feminine magic PowerPoint.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's fabulous. Really
Very,
cool.
very cool. And my eyes were completely drawn to the sword.
The sword. Okay. Yeah, if you notice the symbols on the bottom, X and Y, these codes have come up a lot, or the X and Y symbol within the codes. They're in several codes. And the X, yeah, very powerful. And I don't know it's symbolic. I mean, there's something in, and perhaps even within that time, there was some sort of symbols or something that were these shapes. But ironically, I was talking about Chiron earlier. So I looked at my chart to see where Chiron is, I guess. Again, I don't know anything about astrology, but what do they say where it sits? The natal chart, I guess, is where Chiron is. So when I looked at it, there is an X on my chart.
Interesting.
So it's like, okay, well, there's something here. Yeah, really interesting. And yeah, it's in the sun, and I guess Pisces is in the ninth house is what yeah, Pisces in the ninth house.
Well,
Interesting.
what my mind went to was chromosomes. XX is female, XY is male.
And that's come up too. I've got lots of codes that are very representative of that, and almost like reworking them. It's almost like we're like recreating, and that may very well be what was manipulated. That may very well be what those codes are for, is to get it back to our original or our new, whatever that is.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fascinating thing because we always do talk about like New Earth. We talk about, but there's so much we're going back. We're going
Yeah,
back to the purity, back to the original intentions, back to the
yeah,
original energies, but from a place of greater wisdom.
yeah,
Will
yeah,
never be the same. You
yeah,
cannot go through this experience and be the same.
yeah. If you think about it, because it's even like, what is said is like, we don't have past lives, we have parallel lives. Everything is happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you think about it and put it in that perspective too, the past history, and going back to the past, we don't. It is now. It is now that we're working and creating, and recreating, or however you want to see it, and start to feel it in that way versus, oh, the horrible things that happened to me in my past life. It's not about that experience. It's not about that. That was the emotional experience that you held so deeply,
Yeah.
that we're releasing, that is being released. Those experiences shouldn't affect us in any way other than, oh yeah, that's when I did that. you know, you know, just as that was part of my learning to come here to fall into the separation. That was part of, learning more than love, because love is all I knew before. So I had to figure out the other thing.
You have to. We learn so beautifully from contrast,
Yeah.
and we learn quickly through
Yeah.
contrast, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, we agreed to this experience. We
Yeah.
agreed to come in and feel what does it like to separate ourselves, to really separate from yourself and
Yeah.
separate from source.
Yeah.
Um, and they've told me so many times, they said, when this is done, when it's truly done and we're back at that place,
Yeah.
every decision we make from that place will come from all the knowledge.
Yeah.
Like you've experienced hunger, you've
Yeah.
experienced abuse, you've experienced rape, you've experienced
Poverty.
war, poverty,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
experienced all this. Now, every decision you make, you will understand the repercussions, and you will look at things differently from the entire
Yeah.
scope, before
Right.
something is done. Because I mean, think
Right.
about how many decisions are made on our planet that sound good,
Yeah.
but they weren't properly researched and they were not a good
Right.
idea. Not a good idea. Did
Not good.
not
No.
end well, you know? And so, but that comes from a place of not enough wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you come out of this experience with that wisdom.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Okay. It's interesting when this one came through, I didn't know what to relate it to, but I started feeling like seeing it on a breastplate. Oh, that's what it's called. It's called star breastplate. And like on the lions, I feel like I can see it on their chest, this symbol. Yeah, which is really interesting. And if you see in here, you also see the X's in this one as well, and multiple pointed stars.
Yeah.
And of course the um, triangle or the Trinity. No, I'm not quite here. Nayati o yeshoe aini no koe meki yeshone nahati oi tia. Ai nehe o te ama nahe nu makuati ai shoneme o te anamaku ne na nihi ato o nihi ane e shone maku e naha no o ne me ha ne o e shiki ane pe o ne e ai shona me ho ane ati huine ati huine ati no ati ate no nehe ui shana hi oyana shinahe o ane naha tu sh 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 uyana huta ea dia. How'd you feel on that one?
Like I'm gonna need a nap. No, it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And it's very center this way. Hit the throat.
Mm,
I was able to clear out some things from the throat.
nice.
And it's very interesting because I feel it also in the kidneys.
Oh, interesting. Some stuck energy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm like, ooh, and it's fascinating. I only have one kidney, but I can tap into that etheric kidney. And so it's not even so much the physical kidney level, it's the what gets held within the other bodies of the kidneys. And I'm like, ooh, I can feel that. And it's like it's like I felt it and then I can feel it letting down.
Interesting.
Very.
So I've been doing some studies lately, and I don't know if you've heard of German New Medicine, but it's based on embryology. It's a healing strategy that's It's been around for a long time, but they base it on the human evolution, and in it they state that humans through their evolution they started out with one kidney.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you said you have one.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. Now, I remember the geneticist said that your kidneys and your ears are formed at the same time, which is why they have this similar shape.
Yeah.
And so, like as a kid, what hid the kidney issue was ear infections.
Ah,
And so,
interesting.
yeah.
So I love it how you say that. So that is a point in that, these light codes will, whatever you're needing, your soul is saying, bring it on.
Yeah.
So hitting you at that point, and this has been something I've been going through as far as releasing those energy pockets, those things that are really blocking
Yeah.
this flow that we so long to have, and that flow, and even in the function of our body, because the flow that I just released recently was about my digestive system, and now it's like it's coming back online in a way that it's been a long time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
yeah.
was, before we were talking, before I hit record, I was sharing with her that, sacred journeys can be a lot of energy. It's a lot of movement. It's a lot of change. And my digestion has been on point since Egypt. And it's always been this place of contention in my body. And it's working better than I could ever remember.
Yeah, wow, wow. Coming into alignment, amazing. And we start letting our guard down eventually as we see what it, just like this trip. It's about, you're choosing to align, you're choosing, if you feel the calling, yeah, it will happen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the Avalon trip is definitely, it's a neat one just because it's intense energy work, but there's a lot of fun in it. Right. And I think that like when we were looking at the Merlin one, it's like you can kind of sense that magic and alchemy and the fun.
Yeah,
And there is that. And it's so much better when we're having fun.
it is. It's rekindling our spirit. I mean, our true self, who we truly are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've gotten through a lot of difficult stuff. I think we're at the point where it's time to go this way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I think I said recently in a video, it's like we're at that space now where it's like the thesis statement
Yeah,
of
right.
the degree to where it's like, okay, put it all together now.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Leave
right.
that crap behind and let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Okay. So speaking of Avalon and the
Yeah.
Druids, so a lot of work with them and rekindling those past lives and understanding what the trauma was with those. But this one is called it's called Master Code Complete, number 11. So yeah, it's yeah. So it is when it came through, it felt very powerful. But I like, when I'm thinking about it now, Master Code Complete. It's like we're back to this point where we started, that point of origin, the first code, the point of origin. So now we finally made it back. And now it's time to start releasing those codes for this evolution, this ascension process in a whole new way.
There's a lot of joy in this one,
Yeah.
at least for
Excellent.
me.
Excellent. I gotta ask this. Okay. This will be an interesting one. When you said joy, I knew who was going to come through, and it's going to be fairies.
Yeah.
So this one will be interesting. Fast. They like to come through very fast. Hmm. Were they buzzing around you?
It's been very interesting because fairies, elementals were like some of the first ones that I was able to very easily connect with. Those in archangels. And
Yeah.
then it was like, as I went on and I broadened frequency, I could bring in more. And so then it was more galactics and definitely the ascended masters and all
Yeah.
that. And lately, the fairies have been coming back
Mm.
to consciously work with me. And it's bringing in so much joy. It's like sometimes in this process, sometimes you forget that joy, right?
Oh, yeah.
You get so purpose filled that you forget to play.
Yeah.
Um, and I've had so many signs. Like I had a dragonfly hitting in the big bay window in the living room yesterday, and it's Colorado. There's no water, and here's this, and I'm like, I hear you, okay. And so sitting outside, connecting in with fairy, and they're wanting connection so much.
Yeah.
And I would say my first time in the UK was where it came from being etheric up here, if you will, to me straight seeing them with my eyes.
Wow. Wow.
It was absolutely incredible.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
this was wonderful. It brought me back to that origin point.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And the joy component, that was the big component that the family constellation, the healing was about for me. That I didn't have the joy. I mean, my joy is certainly doing this work, but my existence was not joyful, and so that was key. So this was probably a big one for me too. Yeah. Yeah, just to
Because
bring the fairies.
I remember being a child and just interacting with the fairies, and my sister would
Wow.
think I was crazy, or and I would try to tell people, and people would be like, stop that. Stop talking about that. And I remember like squashing it around
Yeah.
nine or so, and how much I lost
Yeah.
just by disconnecting myself even further from that what we call the unseen world. It's just a frequency.
Yeah.
It's really no different than somebody who's colorblind and you try to describe a rainbow. They can only see certain frequencies of that rainbow.
Right.
It's
Right.
no
Right.
different. It's
Yeah.
not, this world exists. It's right here.
Yeah. 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 Cool.
And they do feel to me like they're gearing up more and more. The children that have come in the last 5, 10 years,
Yeah.
the ones that are coming into parents who are not going to squash
Right.
these kids are connected.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's excitement about that.
Yeah.
So much
Totally.
joy about that. Like,
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Let's see. I think there's one more after this one. Okay. So this one is called the first one.
Hmm.
That's the name that came in for it. So if you notice, I mean, because a lot of times, like I say, I try to make them a little tangible just for myself, just for an explanation, but yet they don't need one, and whatever you receive is what you receive. But what came to me when I first drew it, after I drew it, was, you see the clock at the top, you see the spiral of time, you see the thumbprint at the bottom, you see all the lives that you go through around the lion in the center, those experiences that we came here to have and experience and express and create. You see it all coming together, and you see the key is the lock.
Yeah.
So we are the key.
Yeah.
So we're the ones that can open the door. I mean, simple as that. I have a interesting poem that came to me. Is called "I Become," and within that poem, is talking about you being the key, and you are the door. So, and it's all opening right now. So
it is. It is.
okay, so let me see. Yeah. This one's going to be really short because we're going to go to the next one. Nyamakuinihati onimekuati omehane oti asho neha matu ha tu ai ne ku na ku e ne no ne uinihati. Dia makua makua makua.
That's an interesting one. I'm finding myself rocking, right? Which is that it's when you're actually reconfiguring.
Yeah.
And generally when I find myself rocking like this, it's very deep, very emotional.
Yeah.
I can feel a little bit of sadness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heaviness, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know how you can look back at an experience and it's a heavy experience, but it's under it. If you let go of the heavy, you can get to the nuggets.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah. It felt like during the light language, it was like it was going to all the points, I mean, there's a million gazillion of them, but it felt like it was going to all these points to say, you've been here, you've been there, you've been everywhere. I mean, it's just like, and now you're here in this body, and now it's time to open, to unlock. Yeah. So it feels, yeah. Okay, and the last one, this one's funny because you said this earlier. You said something about pure consciousness. That's what this one's called, pure consciousness. So we're going to end with this one, and that's bringing that, fully into our being. All this clearing that we've done, all this awakening, coming back to this time and space of where we created this path, right? Coming back into the path of the pure consciousness that we are. Heoa uanaha untia uamakayane uyashane uyabaku anehayana uinehma nehma unaea uishamahuati oneaya untuye shatai aki unamaku ati amaku unehati uinamaku ishokiana unokayata unihata nikuana u shi ama ona iatapaku itni naati uinihati asho ama o nihati uinihiati ushapa Ushapai no oena ka I ametu ai shoki nahayana 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 uine I ama ku ayana ke ati a ni a hati a o ame ku ati huisha ha hua ne hayati ama ku ti iti huata I amahu Anamahu Nihi a Wishna ti Nama oene hatiana oene mehati Uina a Omahi Uisha aina tu Yana oena Iasha Oma na tu sh sh tu yeah nehata nehata uinehata uinehata.
This one actually hit in the physical heart.
In the where?
The physical heart. So
Oh,
not so much that chakra, but like literally my heart.
heart.
Yeah. Very interesting.
A lot of I know I've done a lot of energy clearing in my physical heart.
Yeah.
So much like almost like cages around it, I've gone through this like just the layers, the layers, the layers. Let's get back to the heart. And I felt the heart. One day I had I had heart palpitations constant for 9 hours
Oh my.
one day. And I needed to go to, I thought maybe I needed to go to the hospital or something because it wasn't normal. And then I met a friend and we did a little work. And about 3 hours later, it stopped. Yeah. So there's been so much injury in the heart. I mean, think of what it represents, our love. That's what we're coming back to.
It does.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I hope that everyone really enjoyed it and it kind of gives a scope of what your work is and what you are bringing in. And whenever you say, I haven't worked in 7 years, I just want you to remember that you're full of crap. Right? Like
Yeah.
you,
I should reframe
yeah,
that.
because it's no,
I
this,
haven't worked in 3D in 70 years.
yeah, I mean, this is divine work that you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And I'm really glad that you reached out to me and because I think that we're in this space where we're starting to help each other fill in pieces.
you. Oh yeah. We're totally, yeah. I believe that we need each other. I mean, we literally are coming back together for those, healing the little wound here and there. And it's not about, like before, it's like going to people with past lives and reconciling that. And sometimes it was a little challenging. It's not about that anymore at all.
No.
It's just about the joy of coming back into the tribe and just allowing our energy to heal each other,
Yeah.
activate each
Well,
other.
and as you come into your tribe, right, stuff gets triggered. I
Yeah.
mean, the persecution wounds can get triggered, the fear, that particularly I find that there's that feminine wound of group work.
Yeah.
There was a
It,
lot
it's true. It's true. Yes. Yeah.
and
Definitely.
and when you find your tribe, it's like you're simultaneously working through that. It's not that you're focusing on that. You're not
Right.
focusing on what do I have to heal. You're focusing on what is my purpose, my passion, my joy,
Yeah.
what makes my soul sing.
Yes.
And in focusing on that, you are also working on anything stuck and left over. And
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because, even on the Egypt trip, it wasn't that people didn't get triggered. Of
Yeah.
course we did, right? But everyone was like, okay, I'm triggered. What do I need to see? Okay, so
Yeah.
someone said this, someone did this. I'm triggered. What do I need to look at myself? What do I need to see? What is coming up? It was
Yeah.
never a projection outward.
Right. Right.
And so, and then it was like we could all laugh at ourselves and laugh
Right.
at each other and just joke through it. And we were
Yeah.
able to shift huge amounts of energy just by simply kind of going, yep, I'm the one who's snarky today.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's struggling. I'm the one who's feeling this. And the minute you owned it, and the minute everyone else was like, okay, it's all fine.
Yeah. Look how far we've come. I mean, that right
No,
there is just, yeah, that is so impactful. Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming back to that neutrality and feeling that in ourselves, like, oh yeah, 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 that's me.
Yeah. That's mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Oh my gosh, so cool.
Because I mean, you think about everything, so much of what goes wrong in this world is a projection,
Yeah.
right? And so when you start to own the projections and you
Yeah.
stop actually projecting onto someone else
Yeah.
and you see everything as that gift, like, okay, I'm completely triggered. What you just said really upset me and I am triggered and it's mine.
Yeah. That's right.
It's not
Okay,
yours.
now what am I going to do with it?
If anything, you are my gift to trigger this.
Yeah. Yeah. We are each other's gifts,
We
actually. Yeah.
really,
That's an excellent
we
point.
really,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's fantastic. Fantastic. Ah, all right.
I I appreciate this, and I hope everyone enjoyed it and got to taste a little bit of your work. And
Thank you.
I'll put your website on here so that they can contact you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Sounds great. Sounds great.
Absolutely amazing. I feel like you are very much in this space that you're blossoming. Like, because
Yeah.
I think that you're at this space where you're like, no, I'm ready now. I've done the 7 years of helping people occasionally and doing some group work, but
Yeah.
you've
Yeah. Yeah.
honed your craft.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's amazing. It just feels really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something I'm allowing now. You know how they say don't compare to other people and what they're doing. That's my whole process. It's like, well, why am I not doing it that way? Or, why can't I see that? You
Right.
know, and you're rejecting. I mean, you're rejecting
You,
your own
yes.
gifts and how you came into this life and what you decided to learn, which was not, the whole knowing, that's the human mind. We want to know, we want to plan. It was really coming and getting through that part of who I was to back to who I am. It's like, I know that, or, it's coming, it's just like, it is a knowing. It's just an automatic, but you don't have to know for the future. You don't have to plan.
Yeah.
Well, not that you don't have to ever plan, but what I'm saying. It's just allow.
Yeah.
It's such a simple thing. And yet we've
If,
made it so complex.
yeah. Yeah.
I know I have.
Oh, yeah, you're not alone. You're not. But I think that, it's an interesting thing because I think as we start to come together more, the tribes, we're starting to get that validation of like, I can look at you and go, I'm so glad you didn't let why am I doing it, like not doing things like them
Yeah.
or that person or whatever, stop you, because your soul signature is
Yeah.
exactly what is so beautiful in front of me. Right. And can you imagine if you were trying to be someone else?
Yeah. No, no. And that's really what you play into. I mean, trying to be something you're not.
Something you're not, instead of
Yeah.
understanding like you are so perfectly perfect,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
The way you see things, the way you do things, the way that you
Yeah.
know, or however it is,
Yeah.
and this isn't, it's like how we do us is
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
if we would just allow ourselves to do it.
That's right. That's right.
It's very,
And here
very,
we are. It's time.
here we
It's
are.
past time. It's time.
It is. It surely is.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jenny. I really appreciate this, and we'll see. I hope to be on that trip with you. It
You
feels
do
right for
well.
me. It
Yeah.
feels key. So yeah,
Yeah, and I hope others of you watching this that you join. It's a it because this came up so quickly. The deadline is July 10th, and just because for us to get the rooms and the everything, and I might be able to squeak one or two people after July 10th, but I have to
yeah.
have numbers by then. So I know for many it's like, oh my God, that's so fast. It feels so rush. I know. But if
But
you're
that's just a sign of times, right? I
it
mean,
is
it's
a sign
everything's speeding up.
everything is speeding up, and it feels really important.
Yeah, it feels really important. Yeah,
It feels really important.
key. Like
Yeah,
very, yeah, key.
very
Yeah,
key. And so if you're feeling that calling, this is your time. And it's the whole world's going to tell you, what are you doing? This is nuts. This is crazy. And you just kind of have to go, no, I know.
yeah,
I know.
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll work out the logic and the details later.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a wild, interesting place to be.
It is. It is. And we're going to find us there more and more, but it's going to get easier and easier.
I
We
think it's
won't
going to get
have
easier
that
and easier.
resistance. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I think that we have to get past this juncture
Yeah.
and really allow that knowing to take control versus the head.
Yeah. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And that's a process. And it's a
Oh,
death process.
yeah, it is. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Totally.
When we
Totally.
started this, you were like, I died a few days ago. And I just started laughing. I'm like, I don't know if mine was a few days ago, but I think mine was actually last Friday.
Oh, okay. And they say we do it several times. I do feel that I have, but this one that I just experienced was the biggest one
Yeah.
I've ever had that I truly knew that that's what it was. The old me was dying. That was holding on to all that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So lots to look forward to when you're feeling it. That's a good sign.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you,
Yeah.
everybody. And I hope that you enjoyed
Yes.
that incredible light language, the visuals, and that you got something out of it. Leave us comments.
Yeah, please
Comments.
do.
Let us
Yeah.
know what you experienced because it helps us to see like where are people at, how are people receiving, and that's very important.
Yeah. Very, very
All right,
excellent.
everybody.
Thank you.